Hi guys, I will chew this Big League Chew, the original flavor guys. While I chew, I will show you how it looks, okay? It looks like this. And I will read a fairy tale called Puppy. It reminds me of this YouTuber with the name Puppy, and Maria showed me one of her videos, and she's just standing and she says her name in different ways, and it has millions of views. So as I remember, she just said puppy, 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 puppy. I don't know how to imitate her, but one of my viewers thought I sound like her. I will read a fairy tale called Puppy. Puppy was a fairy, a 4-inch fairy who had lost her way in the world of people. She never knew quite how it happened. All she could remember was that she awakened one morning in the fuzzy toe of a great big slipper. But the slipper proved to be a very poor place to take a nap. For while Puppy was lying there, half awake and half asleep, 5 huge toes slid down and pushed her into the darkest corner of it. She squirmed and she wriggled, but she couldn't get out of their way. Finally, she took a sharp little nip with her tiny teeth from the very biggest toe. "Oh!" rumbled the loudest voice she had ever heard. The toes backed out and 2 long fingers reached in after her. Puppy stared up at an enormous creature, a gentleman giant. Shouted the creature, trying to balance her on the end of a finger. "Gentleman," cried Puppy, "if you were a gentleman, you wouldn't hold me out here like this." At that, the gentleman giant laughed and let Puppy run down into the palm of his hand. "And what are you, if I may ask?" he chuckled. I'm Puppy, she answered proudly. But how did you get here? Persisted the gentleman giant. Puppy hung her head. I forget, she said. Never mind, said the gentleman giant. I know, the cat brought you in. That must have been it, agreed Puppy. The cat brought me in. She stood in his palm, looking so serious that the gentleman giant shook with laughter. Puppy had to throw both arms about his thumb to keep from tumbling off. Wait till the kids see you, he roared. Kids? Repeated Puppy, with a puzzled expression in her wide black eyes. What are they? Children, replied the gentleman giant, lifting one of her wee red curls with a clumsy finger. Don't you know what children are? Are they as big as you are? Cried Puppy miserably. Not quite, laughed the gentleman giant. Maybe they'll eat me, wailed Puppy, and two shining tears ran down her pretty cheeks. Oh no, no! Oh my, no! Comforted the gentleman giant. Eat you? Why, they'll be simply crazy about you. He cradled her softly in his big hand. Puppy felt better. The gentleman giant seemed kind enough, and probably the children would be good to her. She hopped onto the dresser, and the gentleman giant gave her a tiny mirror to play with. But she amused herself by digging in a box of powder with a long nail file while he dressed. Presently he had finished and was ready to go. Wouldn't you like to come down to breakfast with me? He asked. I suppose you eat occasionally. I'm really hungry, began Puppy. But what? You're sure you won't put me in the soup? She asked cautiously. Why, you poor little midget, laughed the gentleman giant. Are you as frightened as that? Well, wouldn't you be frightened? Demanded Puppy. If someone as big as you or hold somebody as little as I am out of a slipper and you were the little somebody? It's very likely, admitted the gentleman giant seriously. "But you needn't be afraid, little puppy seed. I'll take care of you. We are giants. We are people, and people never hurt fairies. And would you believe it? I never saw a fairy before." "Never before?" asked Puppy, brushing her tears away with a wee fist. "Never before," affirmed the gentleman giant. So they went downstairs together. Puppy was still rather bewildered and frightened as the gentleman giant put her on the table beside the cream pitcher. 3 pairs of eyes turned upon her. They seemed to grow larger as she watched them. Until there wasn't one of them smaller than her own curly head. "Daddy," cried one of the little girls. "Where did you find her?" "In my slipper," replied the gentleman giant, as if he were accustomed to finding a fairy in his bedroom slipper every morning of the week. "But how did she get there?" asked the little girl. "Oh, I know," cried Puppy eagerly. "The cat brought me in." The 3 children giggled, and the boy who sat next to the gentleman giant looked as if he didn't believe it at all. "Well, it did," repeated Puppy. Puppy pointed a wee finger at the gentleman giant, and the children laughed more heartily than ever. "And is she going to stay here?" gasped the smaller girl, who was so excited that she had not even begun to eat her breakfast. "That is up to you," replied the gentleman giant. "I fancy she will stay as long as you are kind to her." "Oh, but we will be," exclaimed the little girl, clapping her hands. "We will be, and she can live in the dollhouse." "We shall have to make some new furniture for it," suggested the other girl. "She is just the right size to hide in my mechanical train," volunteered the boy who had laughed at her. "Right now," interrupted the gentleman giant, "I think she would like a bite to eat. How about it, Puppy? Puppy smiled a little half smile. They did seem to like her, even if they had laughed at her. Ellen, who was the older girl, went to the dollhouse and came back with a tiny green table and chair. Poppy was delighted. They fitted her exactly. Ellen placed the little table and chair right on the big table so that everyone could see Poppy while she ate. Amy, who had disappeared, returned presently with a beautiful little salt dish. In it there was a slice of banana for Poppy's breakfast. It made a rather large bowl for the little fairy, but it was the smallest dish in the house. Poppy was fascinated with her new bowl, for it was decorated with tiny blue forget-me-pick forget-me-nots and wee pink rosebuds. She was given a piece of toothpick for a spoon, and she began to dig out bits of the banana in a very awkward manner. Poppy would have preferred using her fingers, but nobody else did, so she continued to use the toothpick. She was getting along very nicely when the children cried, "Look, Mumsy, look!" A tall woman was standing in the doorway staring at Poppy. "Daddy found her in his slipper," explained Amy. But how in the world?" began Mumsy. She stopped right there, too much astonished to believe her eyes. Guys, this fairy tale, guys, is a little bit long, so I will stop because it's midnight here. I just looked, there's like 30 pages more. So I'm now on page 58 and it's until page 88, so perhaps someday I'll read the rest. I will see, guys. It's a little bit too long and it's past midnight. I'm so sorry. I didn't know it's too long. I'll do it another time, I think. Okay, guys, I hope you like this video. If you did, please give it a like, a thumbs up. Please click on your notification so you will know when I upload a video. Please subscribe to this channel, ScorpioAnnYT, and go to my husband's ASMR channel, Michael Soothing ASMR, and my daughter's 2 channels, Ariaville and Art and Beauty Freak. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I love you.